said Yosef had a test, he passed the test, sex crime. But David HaMelekh, he failed.
Wrong. Gemara Masechet Shabbat says anyone that says that David failed and made a sin is wrong. And the reason why... Oh, I didn't. You should have listened to the rest of the shiur.
No, I was there.
Okay, so now, as far as David HaMelekh, you should know, it's not what he did with Bat Sheva was not considered a sin. And the reason why, there's a few reasons. Number one, Bat Sheva was not married at the time that David HaMelekh was with her. And the reason why is because the custom was, at the time, that any time a man would go to war, they would give the woman a get. Meaning that all the women were not married. So when David HaMelekh was with Bat Sheva, she was not married. So he wasn't with a married woman. That's number one. Number two, a king has the ability to marry 18 women. He's not like a regular common person. He's allowed to marry 18 women. So David HaMelekh having more than one wife was allowed. 18 women was the norm for a king. The king that actually had too many wives was Shlomo, his son. But that's a different story altogether. So as far as that is concerned, he did not sin. Now, when the prophet came to David HaMelekh, and he said to him, listen, you are getting all this kaparat avonot, you're getting all of this punishment from Shamayim because you made a sin, he wasn't talking about Bat Sheva. He wasn't talking about Bat Sheva. He was talking about one of the women that he met at the end of a war. At the end of the war, one of the wars, David HaMelekh fought several wars, and he won the wars. And the Torah says that if at the end of a war, the soldiers, the only thing that's left is the women. Women and kids sometimes are the only thing that's left. All the men were killed, their families were killed, and so on. And the men, the soldiers, are obviously, the testosterone is going through their eyes practically. And if they see a woman, they see anyone of the opposite sex, they immediately want to be with them. So the Torah made a law that if at the end of a war you see a woman on the other side, you are allowed to be with her after you wait 30 days. Some say you're allowed to be with her one time and then wait 30 days and then marry her. So you're allowed to do it, and the reason why the Torah allowed it is because it knew that if it doesn't allow it, then the soldiers will end up sinning anyway. So David HaMelekh, one of the wives that he married, was after a battle. He found her as a result of a battle, and he decided to marry her. And the prophet came to him and told him, you're getting all of the punishments from Shamayim because you married this woman. And David HaMelekh says, wait a minute. But you said, in the Torah, it says I'm allowed. If I see someone at the end of a battle, and I'm willing to wait the 30 days, I follow what the Torah says, I'm allowed. He says, yes, but if you read the next verse, it says that the child that comes out of that marriage will be a ben sorer u'moreh, meaning a wayward son. Meaning that what Hashem is telling you is that although this marriage is allowed, He doesn't want you to do it because only bad will come out of it. And the only reason that He allowed it is to quiet the Yetzer Hara. To quiet the Yetzer Hara. And there are certain mitzvot in the Torah that were only given to Am Yisrael just to quiet the Yetzer Hara. Not because Hashem wants us to do it. Not because Hashem wants you to do this mitzvah. He just gave you that mitzvah so you know what to do and what not to do, even if it's allowed to do. Just because you're allowed to do something doesn't mean that Hashem wants you to do it. Doesn't mean that Hashem wants you to do it. And David, you missed that shiur, you ended up marrying her, instead of realizing you're not supposed to, that's where you're getting the kaparat avonot. That's where you're getting punished for it.
But he also...
So he didn't sin per se. He didn't sin, he just wasn't supposed to fulfill this mitzvah.
He also sent the soldiers, that
Uriah.
particular soldier, and then he got killed. He sent them to get him killed.
So the story. So the story behind that is this: when David HaMelekh found out that Uriah came back, he said he felt bad that he's back. He said, okay, he sent Bat Sheva to go be with him. He sent Bat Sheva to go be with him. Now Uriah didn't want to be with her, and he went to the bar instead. He got drunk. So David HaMelekh commanded him to go to his wife. And Uriah didn't want to do it. He went against the malchut. He went against the kinghood. Which is a death penalty. It's a death penalty. Now the Torah says that a regular person is allowed to give up on their honor. Regular person, you're supposed to give up on your honor. But a king, a Jewish king, is not allowed to give up on their honor. Why? Because you didn't get the kinghood because of you. You got the kinghood because of God. It's God's honor. It's not your honor. Meaning you're not allowed to allow anyone to disrespect you. So when there is a death penalty, you must actually kill the person. There's no pardonment for it, like they did recently with the rabbi Rabashkin.
Yeah.
There's no pardon. There's no pardoning of sinning. Someone went against the Malchut, it's death penalty. Why? Because in essence, when they went against the Malchut, they went against the kinghood, they went against God. So when David HaMelekh commanded Uriah to go to his wife Bat Sheva, and he went against it, he didn't do it, he didn't just go against his marriage, or former marriage, he went against God. So David HaMelekh was obligated to kill him. Now David did some cheshbon, did some math in his head. He said, listen, if I kill him with my own hands, they're going to say, look, he killed him and then he took his wife. That looks bad. It's chilul Hashem. So let me send him back to battle, because that's in essence what he wants to do anyway. Let him send him to the battle. I'll give him a letter to give to the commander over there to tell him, listen, put him in the front lines, which means that he's most likely to die. But nonetheless, if he's going to live, that means Hashem wants him to live. If he's going to die, Hashem wants him to die. But at the very least, I'm fulfilling my part where I'm making it more likely that he's going to die. So he did some math in his head, and that's where he fulfilled it. He did it that way. So it wasn't per se a sin, but still it was frowned upon by the people around him because they didn't know all the details behind the scenes. So it wasn't a sin per se. It was just looked bad. It looked bad for anyone who didn't know the details.
Because you also said that he said that I know I do. He said something like you said that that's what it's written that he knows what he did was wrong.
Right. So that was what
that's what he said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he was willing to do tshuva, and that's his first. Son died and so on, and he was willing to do tshuva. He was even willing to, when he saw that there's so many bad things happening to his life, he said maybe all the bad things that are happening to my life are causing other people to become not religious, because they see me being religious, me following Hashem, me being tzaddik, and I'm having a tough life. Maybe they see that and see, oh, it's not worth to be religious. So maybe if I go make a sin, everybody says, oh, see, he's a sinner, that's why Hashem is punishing him. And he wanted to go to the extent of actually even worshipping an idol. Not really worshipping an idol, but walking into an idol worship house. Just to get other people to think, look, he's a sinner, that's why Hashem is punishing him. Not because, of any other reason. Because he didn't know why he was still, why the whole thing was happening. But the prophet told him, no, you don't need to. I'll tell you exactly why Hashem is punishing you. And it's because you made a mitzvah that you weren't supposed to make.
Also, his son, Shlomo Melech, there's a lot of stories that he was not a Jewish.
Shlomo Melech? What do you mean?
They said he converted, there's story. You even mentioned something.
No. Misunderstanding. Shlomo Melech is where the Mashiach comes from. Shlomo Melech was the son of David and Bat Sheva. Was the son of David and Bat Sheva, and the Mashiach comes from him. The Mashiach comes from Shlomo Melech. It's David, Shlomo, and then eventually you're going to get to the Mashiach. So not only was he Jewish, he was also the wisest man that ever lived, but also one of the most righteous men that ever lived. Now, at the end of the stories about Shlomo Melech, it says that there was something that was, Hashem looked at the actions of Shlomo in a negative light. In a negative light. He looked at it, something that he did in a negative light. What was the negative light? Is that he married 1,000 women. He married 1,000 women. Now, why did Shlomo HaMelech marry 1,000 women? It's not because he was sick, chas v'shalom. He was Kodesh Kodashim. His intellect, his wisdom was literally one level below God. That's the only thing we can't even understand, the wisdom that Hashem gifted him. It's something beyond our understanding. He was able to talk every single language. He was able to speak to plants, to trees, to ghosts, to demons, to angels, to animals, to everything. I mean, there's an enormous amount of stories of the wisdom that he had. Is beyond anything that we could even comprehend. He had technology in his day beyond today's technology. Beyond today's technology. For example, his throne, every time he would want to go on his throne, it was a giant throne. You look at the Midrash, in before Purim, Megillat Esther, Achashverosh wanted to take the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh, but he couldn't fit. Paro also wanted to take the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh, but it couldn't fit. What happened? Paro tried to take the throne itself of Shlomo HaMelekh, but the throne had a special code where, as soon as you walked on the first step, you had to say a verse from the Torah. You had to say a verse from the Torah. On the right side, there was a golden lion. On the left side, there was a golden eagle. If you said the right verse, I believe it was the eagle would take the wing and lift you all the way to your throne. It's like Siri, 3,000 years ago. Siri, 3,000 years ago. Voice command. Voice command 3,000 years ago. That's what the Midrash says. Voice command 3,000 years ago, before we knew what voice command is. And then after that, you would sit on a throne, and there would be a golden, not a real flesh and blood dove, a golden dove would fly with, holding his crown and putting it on his head. On the other hand, when Paro tried to take the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh, he didn't know that he had to give a verse. So he took the second step. The lion this time took his arm and broke his back. Broke his back. So, in the Midrash of Megillat Esther, it says that the Achashverosh wanted to take the chair. Wanted to take the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh. It's so big, it's so wonderful, it's amazing, and so on and so forth. He wanted to take it. But it was so big that there was no way to take it. There was no way to take it. So if you look at Megillat Esther, which is in some of the Chumashim, you'll see it. You'll see something very interesting. And it came to pass in the days of Achashverosh, the Achashverosh who reigned from Hodu to Cush over 127 provinces. In those days when King Achashverosh sat on the royal throne, which was in Shushan, the capital. Shushan. So the Chachamim say, where's the Shushan? Who's the Shushan? Who ever heard of Shushan? You heard of Persia, you heard of this, you heard of... Where's the Shushan? Who heard of the Shushan? Why did he pick Shushan? Why didn't he go to Jerusalem? Why didn't he go to, I don't know, somewhere else? Why Shushan? Shushan is where the throne was. He says, if we can't bring the throne of Shlomo to us, it's better off to go all the way to the throne and build a city around the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh. It's worth to go over there, build a whole city around the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh. That's how significant the throne of Shlomo HaMelekh was. So Shlomo HaMelekh was tzaddik. Shlomo HaMelekh made a mistake though. What mistake did he make? He says when the Mashiach comes, there has to be peace, world peace. So I want to bring the Mashiach. How can I bring the Mashiach? Make world peace. If I marry a princess out of every single kingdom in the world, automatically we're at peace. Not going to fight me. I'm married to their daughter. And that's what he did. He'd convert them and he'd marry them. He'd convert them and marry them. Convert them and marry them. And that's how he became king of the world. The problem was, the Gemara Masechet Shabbat says, what's the problem? And also the same thing in Rambam Mishneh Torah. What's the problem? That when Shlomo HaMelekh saw that a few of his wives weren't exactly tzadikot. Which one in particular? Paro's daughter. Paro's daughter came and she said to Shlomo, oh, these are my idols. After she converted, these are my idols, here's my idols. She converted though. But she didn't leave everything behind. So, even though her conversion is still 100% kosher, at the time she converted, she's 100% a kosher Jew. The fact that she fell back to idol worship is a problem. But it's a problem for a Jew. It's not a problem. She didn't become a goy again. You can't become a goy again after you convert. So why did the actions of Shlomo HaMelekh become frowned upon to such an extent that there was anger in Shamayim because of it? Because the wife came to him and said, "These are my idols." And Shlomo HaMelekh said nothing. He didn't rebuke her. He didn't rebuke her. He didn't fulfill the mitzvah of ocheach tochiach et amitecha. He didn't fulfill the mitzvah of rebuking your brother. You're not allowed to idol worship. He didn't rebuke her. There was such anger in Shamayim that Malach Gavriel, Gemara says Malach Gavriel came down from Shamayim and hit the water, hit the ocean, and what came out of it? An island. A tiny little island that they started building on. And they build on it, 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 and it became what? Rome. What was Rome? Rome is the country, Rome is the civilization that destroyed the Bet HaMikdash that Shlomo HaMelekh built. Now you connect the whole story. You made a sin, you didn't rebuke, you built the Bet HaMikdash, we'll destroy that too. Because that kind of behavior will destroy the house, your house, also destroy Hashem's house. It's all destruction, it's all connected. That's why the Chachamim in Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, they ruled, there's a few kings, there's 3 kings that have no share of the world to come. They wanted to add Shlomo HaMelekh to it. They wanted to add Shlomo HaMelekh to the list of kings that didn't have Olam Haba. Why? Look what he did. David HaMelekh came down from heaven and started begging them at the Sanhedrin. Started begging them, no, it's my son, don't write it. Why? Because if you judge it here in Bedin of Lemata, it's judged in Shamayim also. It's not like you have your own rules. You do what you want, we do what you want, it doesn't matter what you say. You judge over here, they judge over there the same way. So don't write it. He started begging them. They said, listen, we don't listen to David HaMelekh from Gan Eden. We listen to Halacha according to our understanding. He has no share of the world to come. He said, don't write it. A bat call from Shamayim came out and said to them, is him going to Olam Haba, Shlomo HaMelekh going to Olam Haba, being deducted from your Olam Haba? Like, is it costing you any money? What do you care if he goes? Like, what do you have so against him? What do they say? We don't listen to Bat Kol. We don't listen to heavenly voices to make halacha, make judgments. What happened? Hashem sent mamash fire to scare all of them, and they all ran away from the Bedin, and that's it. And didn't write it. Why? Because even though what he did wasn't exactly the best action he had, the punishment that he got was that the last line of the book was that his actions were frowned upon by Hashem. And the Gemara says it was better off for Shlomo HaMelekh to live like a drunk person for 70 years and never be known by anyone than that verse be written about him. It's better that we are a drunk in front of everyone our whole life than being a sinner in front of Hashem for a second. Yeah.
So it's his fault that that Rome was created?
His fault as far as it was created after his action. His fault, I don't necessarily say it's his fault simply because nothing happens for no reason. Meaning that if Am Yisrael deserved to have the Bet HaMikdash last longer, then even the action of Rome being created wouldn't have necessarily been used as a tool to destroy it. So, every action has a reaction, but everything can be changed. Everything is subject to Teshuva. So, for example, Adam HaRishon made a sin, and because of him, there's death in the world. But that doesn't necessarily mean or give us the free right to go against Hashem for the rest of our lives. He sinned, there's certain consequences to his sin, but it's also consequences to our sin. It doesn't give us the right to blame them for our mistakes.
Oh.
Next, go ahead.
I have a question, it's probably 2 questions.
Yep.
Given that the Torah says, like, if a woman, whether she's divorced with her husband and then goes with another guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then she cannot go back to the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the case of Bat Sheva, now was it okay for her to go back to her husband after she slept with David?
Well, that's the thing. The Torah says she never slept with David. She never slept with David before Uriah Hittite. And even if she did, it was different. There's different treatment for a king versus a regular commoner. It's almost like, for example, the Bet HaMikdash had one thing that always was on, and that was fire. There always had to be fire in a Bet HaMikdash for the korbanot, even on Shabbat. There's korbanot on Shabbat, but according to Halacha, Hashem clearly says you're not allowed to light fire on Shabbat. At the same token, He says light it on the Bet HaMikdash. Why? It was like its own country. It was like its own rules. Similar concept to the kings. They had their own rules. There's their own ways. So they're not judged like a commoner. They're not judged like a commoner.
But you said that Hashem gives you free choice.
Ken.
Right or wrong?
Ken.
So, but when you become a leader, you lose that free choice. They use you basically.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Wow.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Meaning, the goyim, as far as the non-Jewish leaders, we have multiple examples that their free choice was taken away from them.
Like who?
Paro, his free choice was taken away from him in this parasha. After the third plague, Hashem says that He hardened his heart. What does it mean He hardened his heart? It's the first three plagues, Paro had the ability to say no. Okay, I'll free them. After the third plague, it says that Hashem hardened his heart. Meaning that even if he wanted to free Am Yisrael, Hashem didn't allow him. Why? The Rambam in Ilchot Teshuva says that the worst possible punishment that a person can get in this world is that when Hashem closes the doors of Teshuva. What does it mean Hashem closes the doors of Teshuva? Does He just kill him? Quite the opposite. What does it mean? It means that Hashem actually gets to a point where He allows the person all the opportunities to sin. He allows the person to continue living. He actually lets them continue living. And the only thing He doesn't allow them to do, He doesn't allow them to do tshuva. He removes their free choice from tshuva. They no longer have free choice to do tshuva. Why? They've made such significant sins, Hashem doesn't want their tshuva anymore. But He will let them continue living in this world. For what purpose? To make more sins, so the punishment is even worse. Shem Elechem. So, you have certain situations in the world where you see people that are very, very wicked live long lives. You shouldn't be jealous of them. They unfortunately could very well be in that category. But when it comes down to tshuva for everyone else, there are obviously certain people that have more difficulty doing tshuva than others. But nonetheless, the sharet tshuva are open for everyone. Yeah.
So the Torah behavior of a woman is becoming normalized. Not only the predatory nature among women is becoming normalized, not only in this generation, but in the previous generations. So what does that say about the nature of the woman? Let's just say it for this generation.
Everyone. Men, women, kids, adults, old people, young people that live in this generation are further from the source than any other time in history for obvious reasons. We have less Torah, less Kedusha, less mitzvot, less merits, less wisdom, less sages, less of everything, and more, unfortunately, of bad things. Which means even more so we have to protect ourselves more today than ever before. The Chachamim said in the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, when they talk about Mashiach on page 104 and other pages around that area, it says, what's going to save us at the end of times? What's going to save us? It says, Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. Torah meaning to not just fulfill the Torah, but be glued to Torah. Glued to it. Meaning, Hashem, what does He want? What can I do? How can I do? Meaning He's always on your mind. He's always on your mind. There's no, what do you want? I don't want anything. What does Hashem want? No, what do you think? I don't know. What does Hashem think I should think? Like, making yourself mamash glued to Hashem. The davek b'Hashem, mamash glued to Hashem. The more you glue yourself to Hashem, the easier your path is going to be to where you want to be anyway. So that's one. Gemilut chasadim meaning overwhelming kindness. Overwhelming kindness means to get other people close to Hashem. There's other types of kindness, but the highest level of kindness is to get other people close to Hashem. But that doesn't mean that you put the kindness in your own home at risk. Meaning a wife is not allowed to go out there and say, no, I'm going to the party to go do kiruv. I'm going to go to the secular party, to the club, so I can help other people do tshuva. No, thank you. No, thank you. Same thing with the husband. The husband can't say, no, I'm going to the bar with the guys. I'm going to go do kiruv at the bar. No, thank you. No, thank you. Why? Because the first thing is Torah. Then it's gemilut chasadim. First thing is stick to Torah. Then it's the gemilut chasadim. So, because the Chachamim knew that it's going to be a very, very difficult generation, a lot of yetzirah, a lot of tests, a lot of obstacles, many of them said they don't want to live to see the Mashiach. And they said the reason why, because with all of their holiness, they also knew that the same level of kedusha that they had the same level of yetzirah. And that yetzirah would not survive in this generation according to them. So it wouldn't survive. But nonetheless, it's a huge merit for anyone that does. It's a huge merit for anyone that does. How do you do it? You make yourself into a vessel to receive what Hashem wants to give you. So Hashem wants to give you kedusha, receive it. The problem with a lot of people, I'll tell you, is that they act like Paro and Sichon, but think of themselves as Yosef HaTzadik. You know, Paro was one of the kings that we saw, is the first king that we saw that Hashem took away his free choice. Sichon, you see in Sefer Dvarim, also Hashem took away his free choice. Sichon. Nebuchadnezzar, Hashem also took away his free choice. So we have at least 3 examples of non-Jewish kings that Hashem took away their free choice, and it's literally in the Torah. As far as Jewish kings are concerned, I'm not sure of anyone that Hashem took away his free choice, but non-Jewish kings I know for sure. Now, many people start doing tshuva, they start keeping some mitzvot, start keeping Shabbat, start keeping kosher, and so on, but they fail miserably when it comes to making themselves into a vessel to fulfill the will of Hashem. So, a lot of people, I'll tell you this, I talked about this with my Rav today, actually a little bit again. People ask me all the time, you want to study chavruta? You want to study together one-on-one? I say, no, I don't really have time. I have the shulim. I have to study, with my Rav anyway. I have the organization Bezrat Hashem. It doesn't run itself. There's a lot to do. I don't have time to do any one-on-one shulim. Oh, what about if it's 15 minutes? Or what about if it's a half hour? Or what about if it's this? Well, they try to negotiate to learn chavruta. And I always say, no, I can't. But one of the reasons why I can't is not necessarily just because I'm very busy. Because even if I wasn't busy, I still would say no. Even if I wasn't busy, I'd still say no. And there's a few reasons for that. Reason number one is if I have extra time, if that even exists in my world, I'm going to study with my Rav anyway. Why would I study with anybody other than my Rav? If he can study and I can study, why would I study with anyone other than him? To me, it doesn't make any sense. 1. 2, if he can study, I prefer to study by myself anyway. Meaning, if I can't study with him, second to that is studying by myself other than someone else. Why? Why do I prefer to study by myself versus studying, like you see every single Bet Knesset have people studying together. It's a really known thing. It's a well-known thing. You should do it and so on. So why do I prefer to study by myself? And he does also. Why? Because quite frankly, it's very hard to find people that are willing to be a vessel. Meaning, people that are willing to receive Torah and not give Torah. People out there love to tell you their opinion. Oh, I think this is what Moshe Rabbeinu should have done. Oh, I think this is what Yaakov Avinu should have done. Oh, I think this is what God means. Oh, I think this is what God says. I don't care what you think, to be honest with you. I don't really care what you think. I care what God thinks. I care what Rashi thinks. I care what Rambam thinks. Your opinion is irrelevant to me. It may be relevant to you. Enjoy it. For me, I rather if I'm gonna hear my Rav because I know my Rav is gonna tell me Rambam. He's gonna be Rashi, Abba Manel, Rabbi Akiva. He's gonna tell me the Chachamim. And if I can't get it from him, I'll get it from myself through them. Meaning, a lot of these chavrutas, a lot of these shiurim that people study together, they're not shiurim, they're just people trying to show off their intellect and their thoughts, but in reality, 99% of it is wrong. I can't rely on your opinion. I don't know if your opinion's right. Did you check your opinion before you said it? Did you check if Rashi agrees with your opinion? Did you check if Rambam agrees with your opinion? Did you check if the Gemara agrees with your opinion? Did you check if anybody contradicts your opinion? If they contradict with you and it's a one generation before us, you're wrong. By default, you're wrong. You're never going to be right and someone from previous generations wrong. Never. It will never be. As smart, you could be Einstein times 10. It will never be that you are right and Rashi's wrong. Never. You will never be right and Rambam wrong. Never. So all the chidushim that I tell you guys, whenever I have a chidush, I have a siyat nishmat to give you an insight, that means that chidush agrees with everyone. It only becomes a chidush if it agrees. It doesn't contradict anyone else. The second it contradicts anyone else, it's no longer a chidush. It's paper towels. They should be thrown in the garbage. That's all it is. So that's the thing with a lot of these chavrutas. People love to tell you their opinions. I'm learning Torah. I want to learn Torah. I don't want to learn opinions. Yeah.
Philistine word means struggle. Even back in the day when Saul and David was there.
Okay.
Again, going back, Hashem runs the world. Are they there to keep the Jews in check or something? Because it seems like they're always around. They're always on
the Philistines of the Torah days have no connection whatsoever to the Palestinian terrorists of today. Palestinian terrorists of today, Palestinians in general, are comprised of people from Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Lebanon. They have no connection whatsoever to the Philistines of the biblical times. That's number one. Number two, before modern day Israel, there was no such thing as Palestinians.
I know.
Okay, that's two.
3,
they're terrorists. 4, there is no such thing as two-state solution. There's only Israel, and that's it. Anyone that believes otherwise is an imbecile. 4, there will never be peace.
I know that.
Never. There will never be peace. Ever, ever, ever. As a matter of Trump, even if Trump has a twin brother who runs again, and they have a twin brother, and they have kids together, never, there will never, ever be peace. Never. Peace between Am Yisrael and the world. Never. There'll be temporary no war, temporary like quiet, but there will never be peace. The reason why is because everyone has a role. Everyone has a role. When Am Yisrael wants to be like the goyim, when Am Yisrael wants to act like the goyim, when Am Yisrael wants to dress like the goyim, when Am Yisrael wants to marry the goyim, when Am Yisrael wants to play in the playground with the goyim, Hashem says, okay, I'm going to use the goyim to make Avdalah. I'm going to use the same goyim you want to be like to separate you. I'm going to make them not want to be with you. You want to be with them, I'm going to make them not want to be with you. So, he uses different types. Sometimes he uses Palestinian terrorists. Sometimes he uses the Nazis, sometimes. Yeah, there's plenty of tools that Hashem has. Hashem has an endless amount of tools. And the reason why anti-Semitism was born in Parashat Shmot. Last week's Parashat Shmot, when Paro said, Ava nitchak malach. He said, Ava nitchak malo. Let's fool them. This was the first systematic way of going against Am Yisrael. Usually it was against one person. Here this was against the entire nation. Anti-Semitism was born in Parashat Shmot. Why? Because Am Yisrael had to be rebuked by Hashem, and Hashem had to use something, a natural tool. Go ahead.
Is it in the Torah that the goyim will ever want to be like the Jews?
Ken. As a matter of fact, in the book of Zechariah, the prophet Zechariah says that after the Mashiach comes, the righteous Gentiles, the ones that are righteous and not idolaters, they're going to come to the Jews. And every Jew that wears a tzitzit will have 10 representatives from each one of the 70 nations, meaning 700, stand by each corner of his tzitzit, meaning 2,800. There's 4 corners, 2,800. 2,800 Gentiles, non-Jews, righteous Noahides, are going to come to each Jew with a tzitzit and say, we now know that our forefathers lied to us. The God of Israel is the real God. Please teach us. So the righteous Gentiles now become the Talmidim of every Jew with a tzitzit. If you wear more than one tzitzit, Chazak u'Baruch, now you have 5,600. So a company with 2,800 employees is a big company.
Last question. Okay. Why did...
Baruch Hashem, I have the answers.
With sources.
Shtabach Shemo La'ad, it's all Hashem, don't blame me. Shtabach Shemo La'ad, it's all Hashem. Go ahead.
Why did, after his father spilled so much blood, Shlomo HaMelekh divided Israel? I mean, at the end of the day, it led to destruction.
No. I mean, Shlomo HaMelekh never had war.
Right move, I mean.
Shlomo HaMelekh never had war. In all the years that Shlomo HaMelekh lived and ruled, he never lifted a single sword. That's the reason why Hashem made him build the Bet HaMikdash and not David HaMelekh.
Yeah,
David HaMelekh killed some people, even though he was righteous and he was killing them in the name of God. Still, Hashem says a hand that has blood on it is not a hand that's going to build the Bet HaMikdash. But as far as Shlomo HaMelekh, like I said, all of his actions that he tried to do was using his divine wisdom. In essence, he had literally divine wisdom. Was in essence ultimately to fulfill the will of Hashem in order to bring the Mashiach. That's all of his actions, everything he did, all he was about. If you read the book of Ecclesiastes, you're supposed to read it on Sukkot, Ecclesiastes, Kohelet in Hebrew. You read Kohelet, you see, I mean, the beginning of the book is very depressing. You can't help it but be depressed. Why? He tells you everything is meaningless. All of life is meaningless. All of material is meaningless. I had everything and I'm telling you for sure it's meaningless. And this is someone that had everything is telling you meaningless. And it's evil, and it's bad, and it's this, and it's that. And then he starts telling you why. And you read it with commentary, it's mamash, it gives you, it like rewires your brain. You start seeing, like the wisdom that he had is like something out of this. I mean, you can't understand it. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, I read Baruch Hashem on Sukkot. I read 2 different commentaries. On Kohelet, I'm telling you, there's never enough. It's amazing, because even the literal meaning is genius. But once you see it with commentary, like the sages explain to you what it means, it's really like, it's just one verse. You apply one verse and the whole Kohelet. You take one verse, apply it to your life, you fix it. One verse. Pick any one you want. It's amazing. So everything that Shlomo HaMelekh did was to fulfill the will of Hashem. Every move. Whether we understand anything that he did was to fulfill the will of Hashem. Now the kinghood was split after him, not during his life. After him. He didn't split it himself. There was war after him. There was war after him. During his time, there was the best time in Am Yisrael's history. All of the history that Am Yisrael has ever had, the best time in history was at the time of Shlomo HaMelekh, to such an extent, the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says that at the time of Shlomo HaMelekh, they were no longer allowing converts. Same thing with the time of David HaMelekh. Why? He literally ruled over the entire world. But in a peaceful way, which is unheard of. Because even Nebuchadnezzar, or Achashverosh, or Paro, or any of the kings, the non-Jewish kings of the world, that ruled the world, they ruled the world with the sword. There were still people that went against them. There were still people that wanted to kill them. There's still people that hated them and so on. Shlomo HaMelekh was literally loved by all, which is unheard of. So it was literally 1 second away from bringing the Mashiach. Just Hashem, it wasn't a time Hashem didn't want it to happen.
How many years did it live?
I think he was king for 40 years. 40 years, if I'm not mistaken. 40 or 60 years. That's it. Very short. But ultimately, everything he did was to fulfill the will of Hashem in the highest level. Same thing with Adam HaRishon. A lot of people are upset about Adam HaRishon. oh, he messed up the whole thing. If he didn't eat the fruit, why couldn't he just take a diet? The reality is, the secret behind it is this. This goes more into the Zohar, but either way it's Midrash, so you should know. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote a Zohar. Before he died, Adam HaRishon came to him in his dream. And he says, Kvod Harav, I'm going to let you in Gan Eden, but you have to make a promise. What promise? Don't tell anyone the real secret of why I was punished. Don't tell anyone the real secret of why I was punished. Meaning that what we think is the reason of why Adam HaRishon was punished is not really the real reason. So that's first of all you should know. It's not because he ate from the fruit. It's much deeper than that. It's much, much deeper than that. Now, why did he eat from the fruit in the first place? Because if you remember in Parashat Bereshit, it says that there were two trees. There were two trees. One tree of knowledge, one tree of life. The tree of life was in the middle of the garden. The tree of knowledge, it doesn't say where it was. But obviously, Adam HaRishon knew where it was because he ate from it. The question is, where's the tree of life? It says in the middle of the garden. So the Zohar Kadosh, the Chachamim say, what's the middle of the garden? Adam HaRishon didn't know what the middle of the garden was. It's like going into the Amazon. You don't know where the middle is. You go into the Amazon, you're probably not coming back. It's very dangerous. Didn't know where it ended. Didn't know where the middle was. He didn't know where the tree of life is. And he says, listen, I know I'm flesh and blood. Even though I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, eventually this flesh and blood is going to die. I want to serve Hashem forever. I want to learn Torah forever. I want to serve Hashem forever. If I'm going to die, whenever that time is, I'm not going to be able to serve Hashem. He couldn't live with himself, not serving Hashem. He said, I need to find a tree of life so I could eat from a tree of life, live forever, serve Hashem forever. How can I find a tree of life? Eat from a tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge tells me where the tree of life is, where the middle is. So that's why as soon as he ate from the tree of knowledge, you look at the psukim, you look at the verses, and it says, let's kick him out before he eats from the tree of life. Why tree of life? Because now he's going to live forever like us. Can't live forever for us. Your rationale, Adam HaRishon, Chazak u'Baruch, good for you. Not good. Good for you. Not good. Don't do it. Don't use your rationale. Beseder, B'ezrat Hashem, we have more shiurim coming up. On Tuesday night, we're going to have our Pirkei Avot series. And some more questions, some more answers. You have another question? Go. You didn't ask questions tonight. Give me a question.
So let's say, for example, there was a guy.
Ken?
And he wakes up. He sees blood on the floor. Blood. He hears a guy knocking on the door. He says, what's all this blood? He says, I can't tell you, it's a secret. So after that, next day, he knocks on the door. He asks, what is this blood already? He says, this was one of the prophets. He's like one of the worst prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Hashem said to kill him, so all this blood is hot and dried.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, Hashem said to the guy in the middle of the night that you should ask him, why do you do bad things if you don't know what to do? So the next day he asks that. He says, I don't care about this God. Let's go and see about making a plan about this. And then after that, Hashem wrecks all them. So what should we do from that?
Okay, so the story that you're telling, Zaku Baruch, is the story of Zechariah. Zechariah came to the people and he rebuked all the people. He told them to go do tshuva, somewhat of what we're trying to do. But Baruch Hashem, they haven't killed us. They killed him though. They killed Zechariah. Now, Zechariah, like the other prophets, was a Kodesh Kodeshim. And Hashem wanted to avenge his blood. So after he died, the blood wasn't swallowed by the ground. So when Nebuchadnezzar sent Nebuzaradan to go conquer Yerushalayim, Nebuzaradan saw that there's one place over there with a blood that's boiling. Like he's saying, boiling. And he asked the Jewish people, what is this blood? And they lied to him initially because they didn't want to admit they killed their own prophet. So they lied and they said, no, this is just from our korbanot, from our sacrifices. It's sheep blood. So Nebuzaradan said, I don't remember last time I killed a sheep, I slaughtered a sheep. I don't remember the blood being like this. Can you do it? Can you show me? Show me what you're doing. Show me. And they slaughtered a sheep, and obviously the blood was not the same. Oh no, let's try again. Try again. After, if you're not, that's not working. He goes, okay, if you don't tell me the truth about what this blood is that's boiling over here, I'm going to kill all of you. And they said to him, what can we tell you? What can we tell you? This is the blood of our prophet, who rebuked us and told us to do tshuva and go back to Hashem, and we didn't want to listen to him. We got sick and tired of his musar. We got sick and tired of the Pirkei Avot series. We got sick and tired of the Gehinom shiur. We got sick and tired of hearing about wigs not being kosher. We got sick and tired of not hearing about intermarriage not being allowed. We got sick and tired of all the truth. So we killed him. And Hashem is going against us. So Nebuzaradan says, God's going against you. I'm going to avenge his blood. And he started killing everyone. So he killed the Chachamim initially, killed the rabbis from other places. And after that, nothing. He came back to the blood, it's still boiling. He killed more people, still boiling. Killed kid, still boiling. He came to the blood and he said, listen, I killed, he screams to the Shamayim, I killed the best of them. He says, Zechariah, prophet, Zechariah, I killed the best of them. Do you want me to kill the rest? Blood calmed down. The blood calmed down. Now Nebuzaradan did a kal vachomer, did a needless to say an argument in his head. He said, look at this, I just killed 1 million people to avenge the blood of a single death of a Jew. What's going to happen to me for killing the 1 million people? What's going to happen to someone that doesn't do tshuva to the God of Israel? He took off his stripes on the spot, wrote a suicide letter, sent it to the kingdom so they don't look for him. As if he pretended to commit suicide, and he joined Am Yisrael, converted, became Tzaddik Kodesh Kodeshim, and his descendants got to a level of getting Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh. It's not so easy to go from being a mass murderer to being a Tzaddik Yesod Olam, do tshuva in one day. You're begging people just to come to shiur today. Imagine giving up $1 million a year job. You understand? So, the point is that the story is very good, Chazaku Baruch, but it's supposed to teach us musar. If you're still alive, it's time to do tshuva. If you haven't done tshuva, just think about even someone that didn't know any Torah knew that there's going to be a punishment to pay for it. Yeah.
The question that was done just ask himself is that, doesn't it sound like, or shouldn't any Jew who wastes it ask himself the same question?
Same thing, 100%. Listen, the understanding is people use their rabbis as the kosher certificate. Mm-hmm. So if you see a religious guy, or even more so, you see a rabbi eating at Starbucks, that's not kosher, you're going to say, it's kosher. Why? Rabbi ate there, it must be good. If you see a rabbi giving a high five to a woman that's not his wife, you're going to say, it must be allowed. If you're going to see a rabbi not tell anyone the truth about Shabbat and allow people to drive to Beit Knesset, his Beit Knesset, and not say anything about it, you're going to say, oh, it must be allowed to drive up to Beit Knesset. Or it must be not that bad. If you're going to see a rabbi not say anything to anyone that's intermarried, you say, whatever, he didn't say anything. They've been going to the shul over there for 15 years, intermarried, he never said a word to them. You're going to think, oh, it must be, whatever, even if it's not allowed, it can't be that bad. So people use their rabbis as a kosher certificate. So the reality is that people need to understand that the Gemara in Yerushalmi specifically says you're not allowed to use your rabbi as a kosher certificate. You're not allowed to look at somebody else. Oh, he did it, so I'm allowed to do it. So this is the thing.
That's a generation these days.
Generation. That's why.
99.9%.
Generation. The point is that everyone needs to understand it. Just like there's rules for traffic, there's rules for Shemaim too.
I read that. Why? My question is, why is Yitzhak so strong right now? But they also wrote that at the time of Mashiach that it's going to be easy to learn Torah.
Yes.
And also, I guess